So we're in the south of France with Ducati's new Xdiavel. We've got a full day of riding on the famous Route Napoleon. We're just a bit up from Nice, and this is the beautiful Xdiavel. I just want to go for a ride because the roads here are stunning. I've been on this road a few times before and it is breathtakingly beautiful. So we just follow this gorge through on the right hand side there. Oh, wet. And you get loads of these like tunnels that are just look like they're being carved out by hand. But you have to be careful of the water running across the road in places. Look at that. It's beautiful. So time for a bit of a technical walk round. So the big thing I guess is the V4 engine replaces the old 1260 engine. So this is the Gran Turismo engine with the counter-rotating crank V4 with the rear cylinder deactivation that cuts the back two cylinders below 4,000 RPM depending on the torque request. A new rear suspension compared to the Xdiavel. Bigger passenger seat which is wider, thicker. The seat has also improved in comfort on this compared to the previous bike. We're 6 kilograms less compared to the previous bike, and we've got a new dash that they've stolen from, I think it's the Panigale if I remember rightly. Power is a claimed 168 horsepower, got 126 newton meters of torque, which is a little bit down if I remember rightly compared to the previous model. Fully adjustable suspension front and rear as you would expect. We've got the aluminium monocoque frame. Weight is 229 kilograms quoted, and that seat height is just 770 mil. Rake and trail is very different, so the rake is now 29 degrees, which means it's more relaxed compared to the standard Diavel. At the front, big 320mm big Brembo stoppers. We've got cornering ABS as you'd expect. In terms of rider modes, sport, touring, urban and wet. We've got a quick shifter as you'd expect, 3 power modes, which is high, medium and low. Wheelie control, cruise control, traction control, and I think that is it in terms of rider aids, which is more than enough to be fair. It is a stunning and beautiful bike. We've got a new handlebar position as opposed to the previous model, so that's a little bit closer to the rider, not as wide and as dramatic, and we've got the pegs in the forward position. This Xdiavel is proper fun. Way more fun than the last time I rode a cruiser. There's an argument like I don't know who wants to pull wheelies on a cruiser, but it is fun. Just piss about, pulling wheelies. This road is good fun. This bike is good fun. And how many feet forward cruises can you say that? You can ride it just stupidly and pull wheelies and back it in and have some fun, or you can cruise on it. And then you got all those rider aids, the cornering ABS, the cornering traction control, the different power modes, because if you get it wrong, that's a long way down. But what fun. I kind of like this new red as well. It's not the traditional Ducati red, it's like a completely different red. There's a lot going on in there. That is just, what cruiser can you do that on? Nice to have a bit of closed road just to have a bit of a play. Welcome to my James Bond underground lair. Now above us is the south of France, Route Napoleon, Nice, Cannes, the most beautiful part of Europe, arguably, and beautiful south of France.
So we thought we'd film it in an underground car park because the weather is absolutely atrocious. But that doesn't divert from the beauty that is the new Xdiavel V4 from Ducati. Now, if you scroll through Bike World reviews, you'll see that I rode the Ducati Xdiavel in Dubai, I think it was, and that was 2 years ago. And basically what Ducati did is they went from a V-twin Xdiavel to a V4 Xdiavel. Now the standard Xdiavel then turned into almost like a mega monster. It was almost like a big street fighter with a V4 engine and kind of customary, cruisery, stylish. I think you know what I mean. But the Xdiavel stayed as a V-twin with its feet forward controls and its kind of cruiser looks. But now what they've done is made the Xdiavel on par with the Xdiavel using the V4 engine. However, it's still got that cruisery look, cruisery style. So we've gone for the V4 engine. So it's the 1158cc Gran Turismo engine, and that's got the counter-rotating crank. And when we rode the standard bike really aggressively when we were in Dubai, that really made a difference and made the bike feel a lot lighter. In terms of power, we're up to 168 horsepower at 10,750 RPM, a massive 126 Newton meters of torque at 7,500 RPM. It's actually slightly down on torque compared to the V-twin, but it is up on power and it is down in weight. It's 6 kilograms less, even though we've gone from a V-twin to a V4. But in some ways, it is like a V-twin, kind of. Because when you're at slow RPM, there's a re-deactivation of the back cylinders. So the back cylinders cut out when you're below around 4,000 RPM.
Does you hear it? Can you hear it? That's it running on 2 cylinders. You could like ride it quite quick or just using 2 cylinders.
But if you request loads of power, then those back 2 cylinders will kick in and you'll get a full V4. Now that happens on the standard Xdiavel, but that subtlety is really smooth. It's like, oh, just perfect. Where Ducati have deliberately made that transition between 2 and 4 a little bit more aggressive and gave, when it's on 2 cylinders, just giving it a little bit more of a burble, a bit more character and a bit more, it feels more twin-like and you feel it vibrating a little bit. And because it doesn't kick in till around 4,000 RPM, you can ride up to 80, 90, nearly 100 kilometers an hour just on 2 cylinders.
Sounds good. I quite like it when it drops to 2 cylinders.
That's all designed to reduce the heat on the back 2 cylinders because V4s produce a lot of heat, and if you're riding this bike in beautiful conditions in the south of France, not in an underground car park, then you'll feel a lot of heat from the back 2 cylinders. And it also saves on fuel and it gives better fuel consumption because the V4 is renowned for being a little bit thirsty in terms of handling. The difference between the Xdiavel and Xdiavel is essentially they've made the bike more cruiser. Compared to the previous model, we've got more travel on the suspension, we've got more comfort, the bars are closer to us. So Ducati have really tried to make the Xdiavel more like a cruiser and more comfortable than it ever was before. It goes without saying it's got class-leading rider rates. So we've got a 6-axis IMU, which means everything is lean sensitive. So that's lean sensitive ABS with those big Brembo stoppers, lean sensitive traction control, we've got wheelie control, 4 rider modes, which is urban, wet, touring and sport. We've got 3 power modes. We've got a brand new dash and new switchgear. What's also great about the electronics on the V4 is you can play with them quite easily, everything is quite accessible, and if you switch things off or increase rider rates or reduce rider rates, you switch off the bike and you come back to it, you're still there. So everything is remembered.
Oh, that's cool. Everything's already switched off.
There's not a system where you have to go in and remember what you've done and switch it all back off again or switch it all back on again. It's really simple, really intuitive, it's easy to use, and they're excellent rider aids. The ABS is excellent, the brakes are really strong, the quick shifter that works up and down is phenomenal. It feels like a race bike in many ways. Cruise control, again, comes as standard, very easy, simple to operate. It's kind of a little bit different to other cruisers because I think some cruisers would look at fitting heated grips before maybe a up and down quick shifter, but that's not Ducati's way. They'll go, let's give it a real performance quick shifter, let's give it loads of grunt, let's give it some enjoyment. And it is enjoyable, it does handle, it handles like no other cruiser does. Now, normally when we do these tests at Bike World, we go, oh, we can't wait for the group test. And how is it going to compare to other bikes in this category? Well, I'll tell you, I don't need the other bikes in this category. This would muller any cruiser in terms of performance, in terms of handling, in terms of braking. It seems to find loads of grip. I guess that's down to a massive big Pirelli and a real long wheelbase. And it just drives out of corners like you don't expect. But then the flip side of it is when the conditions went really bad and it was really slippery and cold and miserable, then it was reasonably easy to ride. You've got that wet mode. It's very simple. The fueling's not too bad. The only little glitch for me is the fueling is a little bit, even in wet and urban, just on that initial from 0 to 10% is a little bit snatchy. Once you've twisted the throttle, once you say you're at 10% throttle to 30% throttle, then that fueling is really nice. But that initial bit is a little bit grabby, a little bit snatchy, not what I was expecting. But again, we're dealing with nearly 170 horsepower V4, so you're expecting that a little bit. Another big improvement that I think they've made over the previous model is the comfort and the rear suspension feel and the linkage, the whole rear end. On the previous bike, it felt like there wasn't much travel, so you went over a speed hump or you hit a pothole and it kind of got like a jar, and you were like, whoa, and it wasn't painful, but you just knew that you were towards the limits, where there was a few occasions when the rain was really heavy and the visor was covered in rain. I missed the speed hump and hit it fairly hard, like 30, 40 kilometers an hour, and then prepared myself to be spinally snapped in two, and it just rode the speed hump really well. And again, when we were in the dry and we've thrown it into corners and accelerated mid-corner, it wasn't like sitting and squirming and getting in a mess. The rear suspension's working really well. I didn't expect it to have such a wide balance of being comfortable and accessible and easy going around town, yet be able to handle a fairly spirited high-speed run up in the mountains. In terms of styling, I think it looks great. The red's a little bit strange. I don't know if it's coming across on camera. It's not the usual Ducati red, but the detailing is lovely. The big single-sided swinging arm is sweet. The only question mark I think a few people are going to bring up on social media is the 4X in exhaust and the rear pegs. I think for me, it'd be nice if the rear pegs were hidden underneath a little bit and you could pull them out so they were hidden. And I'm not too sure if I want the 4 exhaust. Sometimes it looks cool, sometimes it doesn't. When you hear another bike, it sounds great, but when you're on the bike, it doesn't sound outstanding. It's kind of like a weird kind of, I'm liking it, I'm not liking it, I'm liking it, I'm not liking it. Other negatives in this spec were about £26,000, which I know the cruiser market is expensive, but that is still a lot of money for a cruiser. But I'm sure Ducati will say, look at the finish, look at the quality, look at the style, and the fact that it says Ducati on the logo, you know that's that MotoGP winning, World Superbike winning brand that everybody wants to be involved in. If you had a cruiser poster bike, then I guess this is the one. Will it attract Harley owners, Indian owners, and traditional cruiser market? I'm unsure, because I think they're kind of set in their ways, and I can see the appeal of Harleys and Indians and having a stereo and a big V-twin and having that cruiser image. Will it attract people maybe coming from sports bikes or big nakeds? Yeah, possibly so. If I had endless money and I had a huge garage, about the same as this one, would I have one in the corner? Definitely. I would have my sports bike, I'd have my commuter, I'd have my naked kind of fun supermoto, and then this would be my weekend cruiser. If it stops raining and we have the opportunity tomorrow to ride from here along the coast to Cannes or Nice or down to Monaco, that beautiful coast road, cruising along, looking cool, sounding cool, then yeah, that'd be top of my list. The only downside is the price.